Right, there is some very silly stuff going on and it needs to be spoken about. What's going on, friends? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. As always, my friend, I hope you're doing well in perhaps a little bit more testing times for the Chelsea. We remain in the top 5 position, which almost certainly will qualify for the Champions League next campaign, next season. But it looks tight. We are level on points with 6th place Liverpool, which of course is not a Champions League space. Although we've got the strongest goal between 3rd and 7th. We've got by far the strongest goal difference, Chelsea. But of course we've got a hard run in. We'll speak about that a little bit, but I do want to reference some stuff that's being said. Lots of people talking about John Obi Mikel, of course, on this podcast. I love Mikel. I think he's an underrated player. He often says some pretty sensational stuff. Of course, you've probably seen the Enzo Maresca quotes, how he feels about that. I want to react to that. Try and maybe land some stuff that it just feels a little bit up in the air at the moment. And really, shockingly, I've seen on different news websites, I've seen this in the Metro aggregated, Pat Nevin, a pundit, an ex-Chelsea player who I love, a DJ, talking about Carrick being enough to convince Cole Palmer to go to Man United. Now, yeah. I do want to crack into that one a little bit, because of course Cole is a childhood United fan. He loves Wayne Rooney as his idol. He is really close with Kobbie Mainoo, who seems to be back in the fold now. But I don't think, I'll say it now early in the content, that Chelsea are going to sell Cole Palmer to Man United anytime soon. And I just don't find it helpful, some of these comments. I understand if there's recently significant people in musicians or people, sports people that support Man United that take a picture of Cole. Yeah, we're gonna bring him home. All that kind of stuff's inevitable because that's what football fans do. And Cole will probably be like, "I'll give it a rest, mate," because it's not helpful in his career, because he knows the Chelsea fans love him, and he doesn't have an affection for the Chelsea fans. You see it when he plays, when he scores. They've always supported him. They've sang his name. He's become this sort of really well-respected young superstar talent at Chelsea. And whatever happens in the future, he'll always have this affection. We'll speak about Cole Palmer and his Chelsea future as well. And then we can talk about a bit more loosely about the top 5 race. But welcome on back, gang. Strap yourselves in. Thank you as always for giving me your support on the video or podcast. Please do consider helping your boy out simply by dropping a like on this video. It does help me out. You can hype the video up down there on YouTube. And subscribe if you want to. If you choose to do so, you should hit that sweet, sweet bell, baby. And on Spotify, follow and 5-star. It's a bit of graft, I know, but it does help me out. And I do appreciate you all. So thank you, mate. Right, let's start off with John Obi Mikel then. I'm not going to share screens. I'm reading these off different news websites just for reference. Look, Mikel gets very assertive on his was it Obi-Wan podcast, whatever it's called? Yeah, the Obi-Wan podcast. He gets sometimes very sensational, I must say. But he said, "We had Enzo Maresca. I said it. I think we've made a massive mistake to sack him." We'll pick that up in a moment. I mean, it's ridiculous. Yeah, a manager that won us the Club World Cup, won us the Conference League, which, by the way, he was slagging off. He said he wouldn't even watch a game of the Conference League. So already some revisionism there from Mikel. We had some sort of identity in the way we played. I would also disagree. I think Maresca was excellent at setting up in high-profile games. I'm gonna give you my thoughts on this. We took a step forward and we've gone 5 steps backwards. Again, John Obi Mikel, I'd have to highlight the fact how he had 1 win in 8 Premier League games and a manager that was basically trying to platform himself for the Man City job and was pretty much talking it. Yeah, he clearly wanted out of Chelsea. Liam has come in, he's won some games, but there's absolutely something's missing and something's not right, he says. Now, look, with the greatest of respect to a massive player for Chelsea, Mikel, I think this is a load of nonsense. Personally. Like, Maresca's Chelsea was in terrible form. He was clearly unhappy, yeah. He joined the Jorge Mendes agency. Clear as crystal what's going on there. When he was talking about being linked to the Man City job, he said in his Chelsea press conference, it's important we know why this is happening. Look, I am very grateful for Maresca. I think he's an excellent tactician that can set up so well in high-profile games. I would also argue that there was not a clear identity under him. I'd also highlight... my position remains the same. I really like Rosenia. I feel a lot more personally connected to the person than I ever did Maresca or Graham Potter, just because of how I hear them communicate. And it's nothing to do with the first language. You know, Maresca spoke 5 or 4 languages. Do you know what I mean? And it's nothing to do with necessarily him being English, because I adored Jose Mourinho, Thomas Tuchel. Even though Conte was quite dry, I loved how he acted with the fans. Maresca was, look, he clearly looked at Chelsea as this, as almost all managers do, as this sort of stepping stone, and sort of kept himself distant, so where he can maybe get that, that Man City job. Rosenia knows he's, I was going to say underqualified, but he was probably more qualified than Maresca was in terms of managing in a top 5 league and a European competition. Maresca had managed 1 season in the Championship. Of course he won, but he won with one of the favourites. I don't want to undermine him, but we've got to be fair here. We've got to be fair. But what you can see in the difference of Liam Rosenia is he's just putting himself out there entirely. He's not doing the standoffish thing. He's basically like, I'm going to basically put everything into this, but he's doing the Tuchel comments, the Mourinho comments, this is Chelsea, we need to win, there's no excuses. Whereas Maresca perhaps wasn't quite Graham Potter's softness. I think there was a robustness to Maresca that made him quite Chelsea-like. I don't think he was... The Chelsea fans sung Maresca's name twice in 18 months. Look how Liam connects with the Chelsea fans, the matchgoers. They sing his name, he wants to connect. I think it's so sensationalist for Mikel to be like, we've gone 5 steps backwards, when you've got, players like Joao Pedro coming out and waxing lyrical about Liam Rosenia. You got players like Cole Palmer, who we're going to obviously speak about in a moment, saying life under Liam is great, we can express ourselves. Enzo Fernandez, who was one of the most disappointed, if not the most disappointed player after Maresca's dismissal, did an interview with Sky saying how he feels more free under Liam Rosenia playing. How they feel like they can express themselves more. The players seem to like Liam, and they seem to openly praise him more than Maresca. This isn't necessarily... It's not a popularity contest with your players. You got to win. None of this matters unless you win. I can like Liam Rosenia as much as I want. The players can be like, oh, he lets us express ourselves as much as they want. If he doesn't win, he's gone. It's moot point. But for John Obi Mikel, to come out and say that after the contextual parting of ways, he said we've sacked Maresca. Maresca kind of sacked himself / walked away. There was a mutual agreement. He was like, I want to go and succeed Pep, or I want to get all these improved terms, 1 year into a 6-year deal at Chelsea because I won the Club World Cup. And it was a huge achievement. He had a great first season, but we were in the trenches when he left, gang. This cannot be forgotten, man. We were 1 win in 8 games. It was just simply not good enough. And I know Liam Rosenia's had an easy run of games, Maybe not away at Napoli, that was probably quite a high-profile win. But, the other wins are all sort of, winnable, expected winnable fixtures. But it's so early. He's still undefeated in the Premier League. Yes, fixture dependent. But to say we've gone 5 steps backwards, when you evaluate this scenario about how... I don't think it was a mistake. Firstly, it wasn't sacking him, it was a parting of ways. And you could tell that because of Maresca's behaviour and the actions that he took. I don't think, the fans necessarily... The fans were upset with the sporting directors, the club, because of the churn. I don't think they were crying for Enzo Maresca in the same way we all missed Tuchel. And, there was a lot of... People have done a lot of revisionism of the form that were in when just before Tuchel left. But Tuchel was and remains an amazing manager. He connected and spoke to the fans, like a Chelsea manager should. Maresca is not doing any of that. I don't think anyone's necessarily crying for Maresca as a great loss for Chelsea. Probably more thankful for delivering what was a very high-profile moment, against PSG in a Club World Cup final. And delivering Champions League football. It suits him because he's profiled himself. He'll probably go and get a Champions League job. Maybe he'll get his dream of getting the Man City job. Or he'll go and do, manage a Champions League team in Italy or something. Maybe, or Spain. He speaks fluent Spanish, of course. So, good for him. I'm grateful. But to be there, to come out with some of this stuff. And look, I'm not so much digging out Mikel here, but more just like highlighting this is how people react when they're sort of obviously emotional after disappointing results. I think the Leeds and Burnley result were equally as disappointing. But, we'll end the content speaking about the top 5 race. I do think there's an element of this team, these players lowering themselves to the level of opposition sometimes. But at the same time, if you told me this Chelsea team could beat anyone, I would genuinely agree with that. I mean, it's frustrating, the situation with Arsenal, but generally, it wouldn't surprise you, this Chelsea team defeating any opposition, which gives us a punching chance. Anyway, I've just seen Mikel's comments everywhere, and it's a game of opinions, of course, and I'm just giving mine, and there we go. Speaking of stuff that's been grinding my gears, Cole Palmer to Man United stuff. Cole himself has been like, this is a lot of rubbish. People do post him. Yes, he's a Man United fan, Luke Shaw, Man United's a Chelsea fan. Declan Rice at Arsenal, their favourite midfielder. He's a die-hard Chelsea fan that comes from all these Chelsea fans. Gallagher's now at Tottenham. I know, obviously we sold him. Family of Chelsea fans. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really mean much. Palmer also came to Chelsea, and I don't know Cole Palmer, so I don't want to speak for him. But I imagine Cole Palmer coming to his decision to, say because Pep says no, we're not going to loan you. If you go, it's a sell. He went, all right, sell me to Chelsea, and we had Pochettino at the time. I reckon he would quite comfortably reflect on that as a good decision, and he is happy. He got a pay rise and an extension. He's on a long contract. And he's recently come out, Palmer, and talked about how it's just frustrated with his injury. That's why people are like psychoanalyzing his behaviours. Do you know what I mean? So for Pat Nevin, who I do love, he's a great guy by all accounts. I've never met him personally, but I know people who have, and he's apparently really, he's a gregarious, he's a chill dude, he's really into his music. He was an amazing, attacking footballer back in the day. Really tricky player. And he's just talking about how he went on some friggin', what was it, like a betting site thing, company. And he talked about, does Cole Palmer fancy going to Man United? He says, no one knows except Cole. He says, look, I know he's a Man United fan. He spoke about what Carrick's doing over there. How, recently, Man United for years, it's been ugly, flat, worse. People are fed up. And of course, he's saying it's a lot more better now. And he's basically been bigging up Michael Carrick, saying, I hope he gets the job long term. I think the group that's in now have just already shown enough they can lift the club. Which, by the way, is his own huge talking point. This is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer all over again. I mean, to be honest, it's a very small sample size. I hope he gets the job for at least next season or whatever. Would that be enough to tempt Cole to go to Manchester United? I wouldn't be shocked. What? Why? So Pat Nevins just said, Man United's well good at the moment. I hope Michael Carrick gets the job because he's been great and it's all great. And if Michael Carrick gets the job, I wouldn't be shocked if Cole Palmer goes to Man United. Firstly, that is... You think Cole... I mean, he's a United fan, so we both think Carrick. I've heard Carrick talk. I think the best thing about Man United at the moment is Steve Holland. And we all know Steve Holland as Chelsea fans and me as an England fan. Obviously, people do know Steve Holland. He's an excellent coach. Carrick, he's an underrated player. He's not very exciting to listen to in the media. That's probably what Man United need, But I don't look at him and what he's doing. He got sacked by Middlesbrough. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know Rosini got sacked by Hull, but he's also went on to do really well at Strasbourg. I hope Carrick becomes, as a purist football fan, I hope Carrick does well at Man United and he gets the job. He seems like a nice guy, whatever, yeah. But I don't look at that and think like, ooh, Cole Palmer is going to go to Man United because Michael Carrick's got the full-time job. I think that's pretty darn nonsensical, personally. And to talk about Cole, yeah, he's come out and said, look, people chat a lot of rubbish. I know it's the brief from the club, and that briefs will only ever serve the club's purpose, but that he's very happy and they're never going to sell him, and he's the one main untouchable of all the players. He's contracted for, what was it, 2031 at least, possibly 2032, at least another 5 years at Chelsea, and they're not going to sell him. They don't want to sell him. Yeah. Like, Chelsea ownership, they've got loads and loads of disbelievers, which I totally understand. Oh, I just spat on my screen. I'm getting a bit too angry here, and I never get angry. Let me just mop that saliva off my very expensive monitor. They will point to, oh, we're back in the Champions League. Oh, we've bought a lot of young, talented players. We won the Conference League, which is not nothing. I do think, Arsenal don't win trophies, Chelsea win trophies. To win a couple last season was good, Again, thank you, Maresca. The Club World Cup, they will point to that, the gold badge on our chest. Significant. But their jewel in their crown, this new lot, is Cole Palmer. You saw it in America last summer with how he was like the star, the face of it. He's just on his branding, the little motif thing. They're like, if for them to sell Cole Palmer and be like, you can take our boy, for them, that's like the heart, that's the main thing they're grasping onto to represent their own success. Unless Cole Palmer marches into whoever friggin' sporting director's office and slams down a transfer request and says, thanks gang, but please do sell me to Man United, they'll pay lots of money and I want to go, and let it be known, it doesn't have to get ugly, but I'm done. I'm just done. Unless that happens, which we've got no indication that it will, I think we carry on. And look, to be honest, whatever. No player's bigger than the club, ultimately. My only concern is, and like I was thinking about this morning, actually, so I'll speak about what's just in my head. My big, this whole young players in and out churn thing, I haven't really got an issue with it massively in terms of it's a way to generate revenue, and every now and again you'll get a Estevao, Palmer, Santos, whatever, Joao Pedro, although he cost a bit more money. Obviously, Caicedo and Enzo are great players, but they cost loads of money. So, every now and again you'll unearth that. But my biggest issue with it, as a Chelsea fan, is my concern that it devalues what it means to wear a Chelsea shirt. Do you know what I mean? So, growing up, 90s, noughties, and 2010s, if a player transfers to Chelsea, they're like, whoa, it's like putting on the Chelsea shirt. The same way, maybe not to the same level, but everyone's own club is the biggest, right? But like a Real Madrid, when they put on that jersey, what it means. If you're like farming hundreds of children now, they all train in the kit, and they all, see them in the shirt on signing and holding it, it like dilutes the potency of what it means to wear the kit and the mystique. Do you know what I mean? That's my biggest, and that's a kind of an intangible to a degree. So while I don't disagree with, buying a lot of stock, keeping the winners, and making money out of the rest, in theory, for me, that's my biggest issue with it, that it dilutes what it means to come to Chelsea and wear the shirt. And you'd be like, it's almost like you had like an expensive piece of clothing or something cool, or a pair of shoes that, and then suddenly everyone's wearing them. You're like, oh. Even if originally you really wanted them and they're expensive and nice and they're a really good make, if everyone's wearing them, it's like, oh, it's not as good, is it? So then, it's like, well, you play for Chelsea. Yeah, well, so do my two cousins. They've all do you know what I mean? Like, that's my only thing. Anyway, ex-Chelsea players trying to cause problems in the media. I've just had enough of it. Well, this really has been a football therapy for Jan. This today. I do genuinely feel a bit better though. I do genuinely feel a bit better. Yes. So the Premier League table is as follows. Arsenal remain 5 points clear, which of course is yucky. But they have played an extra game. So if Man City win their game in hand, they will go 2 points behind. And of course, they still play Arsenal. Aston Villa have 51 points, which is 6 more than us. But they do look like they could drop out. Man United have 48 points, of course. They won against Everton just away in the Hill Dickinson. This is what this whole like romanticism about Carrick. Yeah, wicked, wins are wins. I'll take any wins. And Man United fans should rightly be really excited. But, they hadn't won at home since like December, Everton. And they really should have got something in that game. Yeah, so we're on 45 points, Liverpool on 45 points, and Brentford are behind on 40. I don't think Brentford and below are going to get that top 5. So really, there's a good chance here because we are currently in the place that is a Champions League spot. We've got a much better goal difference than Liverpool. Liverpool remain in the Champions League like us. Aston Villa also got Thursday football. A lot of people are saying Aston Villa will fall out. Despite being 6 points ahead of us, they're having some disappointing results. Everyone now is like, right, well, they're not on the title race after finally conceding, they're not on the title race. They've got that really tricky Thursday, Sunday football schedule. And there is speculation, maybe they'll go from 3rd to 6th, and maybe everyone, all the big dogs get their top 5 Champions League space. So it's Arsenal, City, United, Chelsea and Liverpool, which would be terribly boring for the non-big supporters of those clubs. It would be like, ugh, so grimly predictable. But that could very much happen. Chelsea, of course, have got hard fixtures comparatively to others. But we've also, obviously we play Arsenal next. So, geez, one opportunity to, dent their title charge and get some valuable points for us. We'll see if we rise to the occasion. Imagine the mood change after that. Imagine John Obi Mikel after that and the rumours of Palmer leaving to United. I don't know. Anyway, I do feel better. Let me know what your thoughts are. Please do consider leaving them and consider liking and subscribing on YouTube, following and 5-starring on Spotify. And of course, wherever you get your podcasts, just search Football Therapy Podcast. All right, gang, take care of yourselves. Chill out, relax, enjoy the football. Peace.